And here we go. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another Thursday night edition of Fuck Your Feelings, the show. I am your host, Rob. This is my co-host, Toshiba. And we are together. Fuck Your Feelings, the show. Our purpose of being here on Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern is to change the conversation around Black relationships, to help change that conversation. We come from a place where we think that communication is critical, and we're here every Thursday to talk about our stuff and hash out things and get feedback from y'all, and tonight should be pretty interesting. We're going to give our Instagram audience a little bit of time to join in, as well as the YouTube one, as well as
I messed up my stuff, and now I can't
delete it. Like you were just acting though, like just for the audience in general. So like, just
Rob messed up my stuff, and now I can't delete it. I worked really hard on this, and now I've got to figure out how to delete it.
You do, but if you wouldn't have jumped up and just said what the issue was, you hit the end broadcast button, not me.
I clicked the thing first.
No, because you use the touch screen instead of the mouse pad, and you have nails, so you're sitting there.
I don't have any nails. There's no nails on this.
I still hear them tapping the screen.
There is no nails.
Save that, but again, and you ended the broadcast. Like I said, it went live and it was blinking. All you had to do was just add it into the stream.
But just admit you messed it up first.
Yes, I did mess it up.
Okay, and so that's why.
It wasn't added to the stream. Yes, when I hit broadcast, it didn't push it to the stream. Yes, but you ended it, which caused the problem that you're having now. So, yes, there you go. Anyhow, that's going to be a great part of a great example, great lead-in, great segue into tonight's topic is 15 signs it's time to leave.
So I wanted to talk about this because, as we know, with the Christmas holidays and New Year's, there were a lot of engagements that happened. But to me, just as much people were considering whether or not they wanted to start the new year with the person.
The new boo?
Exactly. So they were figuring out if the person that they were currently with was the person for them, or whether or not they should be moving on.
And just for the sake of argument, who do you think the majority of those people were?
The women.
Exactly.
Because we said, fuck this. New year, new me. Your ass didn't propose. That's what happens, because that, you know what, that's what happens.
I having the most going on, but
no, there is a lot of FOMO that happens, right? Like there's fear of missing out, right?
Okay.
And so you see social media, and you see all these people on social media, and people are getting engaged, and all of these amazing things are happening, and you're looking over your stank ass boyfriend you've probably been with for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, and you're like, the effort didn't propose. And so there's a lot of things that happen during the holiday season, and then you start reevaluating and going, is this where I want to be? Because here I am watching these happy women, and the women are like, oh, I said yes, she said yes, and all this shit, and you're sitting here looking stank-eyed at the man that you're with, that you wash his dirty drawers, and not a proposal happened. That wasn't a personal rant, maybe it was.
It was a little bit. It was a little bit, and that was some good material. Like tonight is kind of a smoke show. If we would have did this show on Monday night, we always joking with her earlier. I was like, it might have been the last Fuck Your Feelings the show, to be honest. It was a little. We've not been seeing eye to eye in the typical manner that we do, and it's really been a lot about. I don't want to say nothing, because that's not it, but it's a lot of I'm this way and you're not, and I'm better because I'm this way and you're not. And
so you're got two
people. No, sometimes you have both.
Oh, okay.
See, when it's really interesting is when the boyfriend is sitting back over there with this stank eye looking at you like, I don't know who she thinks she's playing with, or whatever he has going on. You know what I mean? So,
and we often don't think about your perspective as much as we think about our own.
Y'all don't think about our perspective.
That's not true.
Oh,
I think I tend to think about
you
your
try. You try.
I do try.
The best that your feminine mind will allow you. But most of what you're worried about, thinking about what I'm worried about, is none of what I'm actually worried about. And that's where we're going to have so much fun tonight with these 15 reasons. Like, she was trying to tell me, like, yeah, we're going to be keeping it real, and and I'm like, yeah, because I know you sit up here thinking, I'm like, yeah, because when one of them 15 things apply to me, you're going to be ready to go, hey. I was like, yo, that knife cut both ways. So how are you gonna feel the same? You have that same energy if I got that smoke for you?
It's a little dark on YouTube.
It's romantic. Where
I guess.
R.I.P. Kevin Samuels. He's always did dark shows. So yeah, we're steadily experimenting. We're trying to figure out some stuff. I got to shift. We're trying to shift. I wanted the chairs to be more. So I'm not having to turn my head as much, just look at you when you're talking stuff.
Okay,
we're still figuring it out. Back in 2023, we've been promising that, but
it somehow got a little better as soon as I said that.
Because you probably had something going on. Anyhow, getting off.
Well, I get for so much.
What the point was being is that again,
I think it's with this
relationship. All of those things cut both ways. You know, when you're sitting there looking at him side eye. It's possible he's looking back at you side eye.
I think it's definitely possible.
If he's a certain type of dude. Now, some dudes are oblivious, or some dudes, as soon as they catch some side eye, they start breaking their neck trying to change it. And it's like, that's awesome. But usually when you hear women talk about that they had the guy that was like that, and then you'll be like, well, where is he? I left him. Oh. That's interesting.
You always feel like if you were a nicer guy,
No.
I sometimes just wish you were just a nicer guy.
And that's where
I love you
we've been trying
so much.
To be nicer
to each other. I'm not always nice.
No, that was a part of our understanding coming around. Is that look, man, and when you both have. When in a relationship can get into a spot sometimes where you're both sitting there like, I'm mad, and you're not listening to the other person. You're not trying to hear none of what they're saying because you feel like they're not listening to you. They're not hearing what you're saying.
Correct.
So the definition of that is a stalemate.
Correct.
And if you stay at that stalemate, it's almost oblivious. I mean, it's almost obvious what the end result is going to be. You're going to call the game.
Correct.
I can't win, you can't win. Correct. What are we doing?
And I want to win.
We both do.
I know. And my daddy used to say, rest in peace, Daddy, that one of the traits he loved and disliked about me at the same time was my stubbornness.
And I'm very stubborn as well.
Exactly. Because you're a Taurus.
So if we both think the other person is wrong,
that's it.
We have a problem
in
our house.
I agree.
So that's where this comes from, and thank God, nobody's leaving or nothing like that. We managed to find our sense, and ultimately, we understand we're good for each other. She brings out a better version of me.
You just need supervision.
Not just anybody. See, when I say that, I'm talking about a person that
I understand that it's me, but you
a person that brings a positive coaching quality style, support, not someone, not just, you can't just plug anybody in that spot and think it's
nobody wants this job.
Like that. No. Not really offering it.
I challenge women think that they can, I challenge you, please come be me for 24 hours. And see, hold on, you need the thing for your glasses? I have moved it and I don't know. It was on there somewhere. Oh, sorry. So I challenge people to try to take my job for 24 hours because I think they think that dealing with you is easy. See, that's the thing about looking at other people's life, right? You have no idea what's underneath and what people have to go through. And people are so quick to judge other people's circumstances, but you have no idea what people are dealing with once the cameras are off and it's time to go to bed.
Well, it's easy to sit there and look at somebody's job and say, I could do that. I mean, again, we have what's called armchair quarterbacks. Every Sunday in America, you got a bunch of out of shape, ain't never did nothing dudes screaming at finely tuned professional athletes about their performance.
That's correct.
Like that's what we do.
That is correct.
So why would relationships be any different? And like, let's be honest, on average, all of us suck at relationships. Like
We all suck at
we all suck at it. Like
because it's work.
it's work. We've not been raised to be able to
Coexist with other
to
people.
be able. The only expectations you should have in a relationship are shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that I'm learning is that having expectations,
It's just
especially
gonna leave you.
when I expect people to be similar to me.
Oh my
And that's
God,
not,
that
I actually do not want to
ridiculous,
be with
actually.
someone who's similar to me because they would drive me crazy because I drive myself crazy. However, I think we get into that, when you and I get into that, me being, it's because you're not like me. But the reason I'm with you is because you're not like me.
And
But it just starts to
and it's
irritate
also- and
me
again,
when you're not like me.
I'm gonna be really honest. You know, I will say something and then not do it and be like, yeah, I changed my mind. And
that bothers
that
me.
bothers the hell out of her because she doesn't. And again, I try not to do that about major like life. Like, oh, I said I was gonna pick you up from the airport and I changed my mind and I didn't show up. But I get how much that irritates her because
I'm a rule follower
and I'm not.
I am I'm disciplined. If today I'm sick, it took me a while, but I still did everything on my to-do list. I still went to the gym. Now I pared my workout down. I still went for my walk. If I was in bed doing some of it, but when I had, because why? It was on my to-do list. And I knew I know you hate this word, but in my mind, it had to be done. I'm disciplined. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like that, because I don't feel as if I do it. I feel like you're weak-minded. Like I feel like people who do not stick to plans, they're weak-minded. But that's a me issue. It's not a him issue, but it irritates me when he says he's going to do something, and I'm like tapping my legs, like when's this going to happen? Because you're not doing it.
Strive to do nothing.
Rob doesn't
We
even know what
do
a to-do list is.
everything that we do to get to the holy state of nothingness. That is our sin. What do you gotta do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The whole world is my question. We're different. And y'all love to have stuff to do. That's why I said
I
boss
say
is a
y'all.
bitch.
I'll definitely
Women.
speak for me.
Your boss is a bitch.
I'll definitely speak for me.
there are some very lazy women out
that
there.
I don't even know what leisure is.
Facts. Oh, Leisure Woman. That was hilarious.
Life
We
of
talking,
Leisure.
watching a clip the other day. This woman was talking about, the real lick is for you to make me a woman of leisure. I'm like, what is that? Like,
I've never met a woman.
All you do
Nothing.
is lay around? Is that what she's saying?
I don't understand what a
Yeah,
woman
it
of
was
leisure
very
is.
interesting. Like, the highest position a man can put you in is wife. And the highest position of wife would be housewife. That's just what it is. Ain't
But
it?
it's all work. That's the problem.
It depends on the household and the circumstances and the
It's
resources,
still
but
all work.
because y'all
I've got to
have
manage.
to have the house a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
That's not because of us. There was a pic that was going viral. Like, dudes having an apartment. They had like a couch, a TV on the floor,
Sounds about right.
and like
I've seen those.
we most of what we do is for y'all.
I've had to go in and guys that I was dating, I've had to clean their bathroom because it was that disgusting. I would not
We have
use
a
it.
personal
I
friend.
literally
Situation gets like that sometimes.
And
Even I be like, oh my
Stop
god,
it.
you gotta do something about this. You got black mold up in
Yeah,
here.
I cleaned people's bathrooms before I would use it. It was like, it's a no, sir. Like, I cannot. This is a no. So I agree
That's
with
what I mean.
you. So it's all work.
Yeah, it's because a woman needs the house to be in a certain status, in a certain. Yeah, because y'all.
And guys, you guys should look out for that. If a woman comes to your house and cleans your bathroom, that's a good woman. Because
Or
I am not about to use
if
no
you go
dirty
to her
bathrooms.
house
And her bathroom
and
is dirty.
No, there's clothes all over her bedroom.
And that's
she
dirty
got
to me.
a closet. She got a zip-up closet. She got it's just clothes.
That's
everywhere.
dirty.
That is dirty. Yes, and it's disorganized.
Yeah, I can't do
And that's probably how she tends to move. Like I'm not. Let me excuse myself. My work is very organized. You know what I'm saying? So when I move outside of that space, because I come from sports and I like a certain amount of structure. Like again, the world just can't run around with no rules. But
Where's the
you
structure?
are regimented, like I said.
That's the word. I'm regimented.
You will, like I said, if we were to go to Disney this weekend, she'd be like,
I have an itinerary.
She'd
Yes.
have an itinerary. We're going from 8 to 8:15. We're going to be from 8:50. But again, I come from where our practice schedule is. You know what I'm saying? There's certain aspects of me that I miss about that, so I can roll with that. And that's part of my goals and movement is to really rein in my personal life, you know what I mean? As far as just doing what I want to do, whenever I want to do it, how I want to do it.
Yeah,
It's just a challenge. But the point of it being is that, like I said, you are also in a place where you're like, I have to. And I'm like, who's your boss?
I am. However, things need to get done.
Exactly. You think she could give you a day off every once in a while?
I have things to do.
So we were talking about that. So while I need to tighten up, she needs to loosen the sticketh.
You know what? We're going to move on to the number 15 sign that it's time to break up. And number 15 is you're making all the sacrifices. Sorry, guys. I thought you'd be able to see that, but you may not be able to see it as well.
Yeah, so you're making all the sacrifices. I'm going to let her start the conversation on that because that's one of her favorite words.
It is. You know what? I don't see me in this relationship.
You do not? I swear to God. Okay, we're going to sidebar real quick. There's been points in this relationship, and we are going to get to that, but just for I wanted to just like low-key pull the phone out and just start recording her, just to play it back later and be like, you realize this is you, right? Just so she can see herself. And I'm not talking like, again, no disrespect.
That's a number one rule.
Married rule. But I'm talking about, she'd run up to the line sometime, though, and she, like, and let me not even say that. That's not even.
No, I am not up to
her
the line.
mannerisms, though, like, I mean, again, something I said on the show before, from back in the days, if I didn't know she was Jamaican and very, very, in OCD, I would think she was unhappy all the time. Y'all see how much she was struggling with just the string not starting off right tonight, you know?
It bothers me.
And there's things, and I'm like, it doesn't bother me at all.
And I appreciate the balance that brings, but it almost bothers me a little bit that it doesn't bother you.
OCD gets in a relationship with IDGAF, there's gonna be friction. There's gonna be tensions. Like again, you always you're always looking at the opposite of you, like you nutcase, you fruitcase, you.
Absolutely.
But you also crave what they bring to your life.
I wish I could just let things roll off like that.
Sometimes where I will just like knock the iPad out of Brandon and just no.
I wish I could be as carefree as you. I don't know what that is. But I'm going to start. For 2023, I'm having a reset.
She has to loosen up. And that's where we're going. So, but on a more serious note, there are some times where one person is making all the sacrifices. When you only hang out with his or her friends. Yeah. When you only eat what they like. Yeah. When you only do things that they like, when you only go places that they like, but the minute that it's something that is exclusive to you, it is hell and has no fury, like, I don't want to be here. We had a situation similarly, like over the weekend where we went to like a day party and she was just thrilled with it and I was like, I hate everything about this event.
So I was like, go.
I'm saying? And that was just a compromise. And in my head, I'm very reluctant because I'm like, Lord knows. Like, so for like the hour and a half, I went home.
Stop. Lord knows what.
Like,
I just want to know
if something were to happen, if there would be anything to go on, if any type of need were to arise for me to be there and I wasn't, woo-cha. So that's, again, in my head, you can't tell me nothing different. So I went home, changed, relaxed a little bit, chilled about 20 minutes, and then I was like, got back in the car and sat outside for probably like an hour.
Because I was having a good time.
I had my phone up on dash and I was watching my show and I was.
Because that's the thing.
Because part of it was.
I'm not going to force you to do something you don't want to do.
But if it was not raining and literally half of the venue is outdoors, it wouldn't have been as bad, you know what I mean, to me, like, and there was nowhere to sit. And being 6'9", y'all don't understand how that feels to just be standing in the middle of a crowd. Like, it's infuriating.
Does it really? See, I don't see it from your perspective.
You know, but like to be me just standing there, like, and people keep, like, I'm just obstructing, and it's like, excuse me, dog. After like an hour of that, I'm like, yo, I don't care what music they playing, I don't care what they were serving. I'm like, the irritation just kept.
And I could see
like
it.
A tea kettle, like you
and I saw it, and it was like, so when you were, I'm like, go, like I'll take the Uber home because I'm having fun, right? Like,
right, and she was, and she had even more fun after I left, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but a lot of people would have been like, what the hell? Well, I listen, when I lived in my own city, I would go to movies alone, I would go to clubs alone.
She's more social.
Like,
you go to Walmart, she be talking to the crazy people in the line and stuff like that, and I'll be over there like, I'm talking to them. And she's just doing her, and I'm like, but again, it's a balance. A part of me admires that. A part of me wishes I was more like that. But I know I'd be looking at people like, man, shut your dumb ass up. Like,
but I think it's also because people are always looking to talk to you because you're 6'9".
It exposes me to not the best sides of people a lot of times, and it just causes me to have like you said, I wish I was more nice sometimes. You know?
So we just actually, one of the things we wanted to talk about to counteract some of these signs is what to do.
Right.
If you're not comfortable being in a space, I think you have to let your partner know that. And you have to be open to that. Like, you should not be doing this year after year after year after year to the point that you break. At some point, like, you are going to break. So there's got to be a point where, like, babe, I would like to do this. And if you do find that your person's like, no, I want to do everything, then clearly that's not the person for you. But I'm also okay with saying, okay, you tried it. I was irritated at first when you left. But then I was like, I'm fine. I'm chatting up. People are chatting me up. It's perfectly fine. I'll go downstairs. I'll go home. What?
You made me think. I do got a little smoke for the manosphere, because there's a lot of dudes that say you shouldn't let your girl go wild. You shouldn't let her do nothing without you. Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if your girl likes to do the club, and again, you can get at what her reasons are for doing it. And I'm not really, maybe the club might be the worst example, but just be so at social venues like a day party, just out about whatever. Like, if you're the type of dude that's comfortable doing that with her, then yeah, you can be like, she can't do that without you. But me, I don't really like doing it like that. You know what I mean? So I feel like that I'm not making any sacrifice by, not only am I not going to go, but I'm also making it so you can't go either.
And there's some men who are fine with me that.
And I'm more uncomfortable with that, like, because again, dude, you're out. I go to work every day. You're out my sight, Lord. No, I'm not gonna say it like that, but that's any relationship. She's gonna be out your sight, bro. If you can't trust her, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you don't think she's gonna rep you when she's not in your lane of vision, what are you doing?
Facts. So again, I say that can be counteracted. If you do feel like you're making all the sacrifices, it's all about communication and what the balance is, right? There's got to be a balance. Sometimes we're going to have to do things that we don't like to do, but if you find that it's all the time, then you've got to start questioning what's going on.
Like, you know what I wasn't worried about when I left?
What?
Other dudes talking to you. I knew that was going to happen. As soon as I left, I'm certain that. It was like, oh, okay, he gone. He just left her. Like, if he was mine, I wouldn't do that. What's wrong with him? I know that's happening. If I don't believe she's going to rep me, then why would I do it? Or why would I even be the furthermore? Why would I even be dealing with you?
Facts. So, we move on to number
Just saying, some of y'all ain't got
14.
no, like...
This is what you talk about all the time. Your values aren't aligned.
Yeah, that's all. Child, like, and values are very. It's not just one value.
I agree.
You know what I'm
values.
saying? Like, I love Chris Rock had a great joke about it. Like, certain things I'm very liberal on, certain things I'm very conservative on, certain things I'm in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, any person that just wants to toe a party line regardless of concept or context, I just kind of look at him like, what are you, like, just a robot or something?
Well, I think we both believe in diversity of opinion, right?
And
diversity of thought. And so that's important. But fundamental values, like
I like it hot and you like it cold.
Not even,
like,
I mean,
how we gonna keep on?
even that's silly, but like, you knew, I don't want to have any other children, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I have a 21-year-old. I love her dearly. I didn't even know if I wanted children, but after I had her, because of my fundamental belief of not having children with multiple men, and that was key, and I definitely wasn't going to have children as another unwed mother and disappoint my father like I did. So no matter any man I dated, if he wanted kids, we couldn't be together. The moment the kids situation came up, I was like, that unfortunately counts me out because I'm not having any other children, marriage or not, because I do not believe with having children with different men, and I don't want to do this again. So things like that. Understanding family, where do you want to live?
Fever.
And now, exactly, you have baby fever, and I'm sitting over here like, sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah, that's
So those are those
Right,
things.
like that thing is
that's gonna come to a head eventually.
And conversations like that need to happen. Like, coming into this, I wanted to get married, right? That was really important to me. I actually enjoy marriage quite a bit.
finesse that a bit, but I
That's not true. I
yes,
told you
it's
very
all-
much that I wanted to get married. I was not coming into this relationship if we weren't going to get married.
Listen here, that conversation has evolved as we've evolved, and also you understood at the same time that I wasn't a big fan of it, but that was the compromise because we're from two different countries. There has to be some type of legal protection for you,
Yes.
Or
It's
myself,
legally
or
protected.
where we're gonna be at. Like, so from that vein, I totally understand that, and we understood that was something that we would do.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I think that, and I'm gonna step outside of us. Because that's always gonna be an issue. And honestly, I think this might be a controversial opinion, but men might need marriage more than women do these days.
Why do you say that?
Not so easy to run off when you're married.
Oh no, I agree. I was saying that to my brother earlier today, right? Marriage guarantees I stay. I'm not going to be a twice divorcee, right? Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not having that.
Just say like we're gonna grind that ass no matter what.
No, I will stay in the next room, and you and your little girlfriend can try to get it on, but I'm just gonna be over there. You can try,
That's hilarious.
but it is what it is. Like, I'm not going anywhere because I'm not about to be a twice
And
divorcee.
yeah, also, like, who goes into marriage thinking that it's going to end in divorce, you know what I mean? So I think you got to have a certain, especially if it's your second go around, you should have, but today, I know people that 3, 4,
Not gonna do it.
5, like, again.
But again, that's
But for
about
them,
the
they have a
values
different
being
type of
aligned.
value. Like, they don't
Thank
even do
you.
relationships. They
Thank
just
you.
go get married.
Thank you.
We have a client, like, how would I talk? Like, just back.
He's on several marriages, I guess.
Nah, it's just a very interesting situation that we were talking about today. Like, these dates are interesting. Like, they paint a timeline that's very interesting.
Well, that's even it. Like, but these are things that need to be
And that's
discussed.
even financially.
You're not letting me finish.
Sorry, man.
You're not telling the story, but then laughing about it. So it doesn't really help the rest of us. Thank you. So anyways, these are things that need to be discussed in the beginning. If you're already into a situation, a year, 2 years, and you have misaligned values, why were you together in the first place? That tells me that you weren't actually communicating. Like, there's certain let me finish, please. There's certain things that you need to talk about. Remember, you talk about, like, everything that you need to know, start knowing it before you start saying you're going to be in a relationship. Do you want kids? How do you feel about kids? How do you raise kids? How do you feel? What religion are the kids going to be? Do you believe in religion? Are we going to church? Are we not going to church? How are they going to be educated? Where will we live? What education is like? All of those things I think should be discussed, and nobody seems to talk about that. So then you end up in these situations and people are like, I don't know. So if your values are not aligned, I definitely think it's time to break up. Especially if you have not brought children into the situation. I'm not breaking up families, but if you have not brought children into a situation,
like serious misalignment, like
then you
y'all
need
just
to
gotta
go.
see eye to eye in the beginning of things, like. And how people wind up doing that is both people expect the other person to do
Change.
something different, and it's like, ha.
Surprise.
And that was one thing I always knew. I always said to people, I'm not going to change my mind, so stop waiting for me to change it. So it's just better to not be together because what you think these babies aren't gonna happen. So next. What will be number 13? I had to put this in a video. No, I had to put it in a video form. And
No, I'm talking about we're doing a lot of talking.
That's okay.
I don't want to do a 3-hour show.
No, I'm just trying to get it to go to the next
Yeah,
pair. There's no trust.
There's no trust. What were you just
That's
saying?
kind of.
That's and it just so we might have,
Flip flop 13 and 14 because basically we just talked about that. Like it's like I said, when I left that venue, again, all them dudes saw me standing with her the whole time. I am 100% sure. And did she have to come home with me? We ain't talked about it since.
No, we
To be
haven't.
perfectly honest with you.
Well, I told you about the female friends I met.
Oh yeah, you did do
And
that
then-
one. Okay, yeah, she
and then a girl
that's
from-
right.
from
I
my
knew she did.
hometown.
And then again, she was free to be a social butterfly and talk to all the strangers you want. Knock yourself out. And she didn't even do that. I could have been just sitting in the corner. Like I took my drink outside. Like, leave me alone.
I think you're just in a bad mood.
Yeah,
because
because
it's
the weather was raining, and like I just want to feel it. I wasn't like in the treatment of black people. Like I felt like they kind of handled us in that venue. You know what I mean? But also, I'm like, it could be they worked within the promoter's budget.
So, hey, man, but again, we got to do better, folks, anyhow.
But
Yeah, trust. If you can't trust that person to represent you outside of your line of sight, how they talk about you, how they behave around other people, like all of the above, like, then what are you doing?
Here's the thing I'll say to the ladies. If you're having inner tension every time your man is out of your sight, you need to consider whether you need to be in that relationship, and you should probably get therapy. That's a real thing, though. There are women who get inner tension anytime he's away and gone for periods of time. Like when you're out late, the only time is if you don't let me know, and then I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, what the hell? And then I'll text him like, where are you? But I'm not thinking you're laid up with some next woman. I'm just like, where the hell are you?
Here's a good one for trust, because I was like, you ever met someone?
significant other, and you like, I've known this person for some time,
And I never knew about
never
you.
even knew about you.
Neither one of us operate in that space.
No.
Like she's very well known in my place of work. I'm very well known in hers. You know what I mean? As
Very
far
much so.
as like, again, do they talk about you? Do they represent you? Like, do they present themselves as an individual or as a part of a thing or like all of that? You know what I mean? Like,
Very important.
I don't like so that like yeah. So that's one of those things that like if you've met someone
Like if your significant other's friends or family, and
So
then
I had
like,
no idea
about
it's your relationship. Yeah, you got a problem. Moving on to the next one. Okay, there we go. You're always fighting.
I don't even think we gotta spend a lot of
time on this one. It's so obvious. Like,
Well, it is obvious, but I think the thing about it is, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but then I also was watching one of those reaction videos, and it was about 5 or 6 young ladies, and they asked them toxic or boring relationship, and they all said toxic.
So that means,
Every last one of them.
that means that they are toxic.
Pretty much.
Here's the
It's
thing.
more fun. It's passion.
People- no.
It's like boring. It's boring.
Here's the thing: people need to stop saying that the relationships are toxic. No, the people in them are toxic. There's no
Facts.
such thing as a toxic relationship. There's just toxic
The
people.
behavior is toxic.
Simple.
The behavior
A
is
relationship
toxic.
cannot be toxic if the people within it are not. So when people say, well, it was toxic, that makes no sense. It means that you are toxic. And if the other person was toxic, then why did you stay with a toxic person? Because toxic isn't good. That's why it's called toxic waste. Right?
It'll kill ya.
It will kill you. So why would you stay in a situation if you felt it to be toxic? So,
Yeah.
makeup to breakup is all good to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, if you're always fighting in your relationship, and listen, there's always going to be fight. Relationships are not perfect. Like, don't believe social media and all of this nonsense. Relationships are not perfect. There are always going to be disagreements and other things that are happening. But the issue is if you're fighting all the time, you're waking up fighting, you're going to sleep fighting, you're waking up again fighting, you're fighting in the car, you're fighting out the door, that means outside for the non-Jamaicans. Like, if you're fighting all the time, that's a lot.
And if there's no rules to engagement, like there's every UFC, MMA, boxing, World Boxing Association, they all got rules. You can't just be, hitting below the belt.
That's
Can't be
good.
punching people in the back of the head. You can't be sucker punching people, kicking people when they're not looking. And men and women are both equally capable of fighting dirty as hell. And if you fight dirty, you're not going to ever be in a good relationship.
Well, you just made my point. I was gonna add, and you gotta fight fair when you do.
Yeah, you gotta fight fair.
When you fight, you have to fight fair, right? Like again, our number one rule is no disrespect, and it is one.
It ain't your baby.
Oh, God. Women say that, man. She watch paternity. You know how many paternity core episodes the dude is up in there like, why don't you think this is your baby?
Because she
told me that.
Well, I just said it to
I
him
just
when
said
we
it
were
'cause
fighting,
I'm
and then
mad.
it was gonna hurt him, and I'm
Oh,
just
wow. That's something to play with. Okay.
like, that's not cool. So if you're gonna fight fair, and if you start realizing that you have this desire to go below the belt and tell them about their mama, their father, and everybody else, and about how their breasts stink in the
Breasts
morning,
stink,
and everything else, and then he's got a small wee, and then her vagina smells like fish all the time. Like, yeah, it's
you don't come
probably
back
time.
from that.
You don't.
You don't come back from that. You said that to that person. They're always going to believe that that's really how you see it.
So you can't, I think disagreements are actually healthy in a relationship. I don't think fights are.
Not really.
And if you're going to disagree in a fair way, walk away. Like again, when fighters, you do the thing, go to your corner. And then you come back. Ding, ding, ding! Like, go to your corner. And as much as that might irritate, because I know for women that irritates us, because it does irritate me sometimes.
When I'm like,
When Rob's like, I'm done. Like, I'm not, because I understand for him in that moment, he's not able to give me what I require to be able to go forward with the conversation. And it does irritate me, but I don't ever follow behind you. I don't do any of that.
Thank you.
I'm like, you know what?
Thank
He
you.
needs this moment.
and sometimes
And
the
he'll
other
come
day I
back.
did it.
He came out, you left like 2 minutes.
I'm like, where am I going?
And I'm not going to like, so I don't do that because I'm like, he needs that moment to decompress, to allow us to actually have a conversation that's
Or
going to be
express
before.
my feelings. Sometimes women just really have a hard time understanding that man got feelings too. He just don't live his life based off of them.
That is facts. I like that thing. Yeah, we do a very bad job.
I'm a child when I'm hurt, boy. I'm trying to tell you.
Number 11, there's a lack of communication.
Big, huge issue. Like, you got to be able to work through them issues. And the only way you can do it is communication. Sex is not a strong enough
Bind to hold
bind
you
to
together.
hold you together. Money, really looking good together. Like, superficial things it has to be founded in good communication.
But here's the thing about communication, and it's something I used to talk to my old staff about when I was in corporate, is there's a difference between listening to respond and listening to understand.
Yeah.
And
when
that's
you're
a
mad,
skill.
And when you're mad, it's fair, because we both were in that mad space. It's hard to, you know what I mean? Like, someone can be truly trying to express their heart to you and being vulnerable, and they'll say something you don't like, and you just like, then cut them, and that's more hurtful. That's more of a problem, you know what I mean? And again, we were going through some of that. Like, I'm just being honest, and it's like, and then something came wrong, and again, I think it was just the weight of, because the one thing that we haven't been talking about, we finally talked about, which is your father's dying. It's like, you know, again, we're 4 months later, and you know, and I've been trying to give, because to me, I understand that's a big deal. I've been trying to give her space and let her work through it. And she's been using that opportunity to act like nothing happened. And
Yeah, because if I act like nothing happens, I don't have to grieve my father's death, and he's still here. But I recognize that was now creating a problem in the relationship, because I was actually grieving, but in a way that was detrimental to us, and I was calling it something else, right? And so that's where the communication, you know, had to be, and I had to sit there one day, and it was a couple of days, and I just let him talk one time, and I even sat, and it's okay to sit in your partner's silence, right? There were moments you were silent for like 10 minutes, and I just sat there. I said nothing. I didn't respond because I knew he was gathering his words or whatever. Sometimes, again, emotions are overwhelming for people, and they need a moment. And I took it as a moment of, okay, he'll tell me when the conversation is over.
And again, just how we were just emphasizing the strength of communication and the power of communication. Sometimes, in the right times,
that is the moment to reach out and hug or touch
Yeah.
or caress and be affectionate. Is that it even when you're mad.
Because that's communication too, right? Touch is still
Even when you're mad,
communication.
sometimes you realize I've been mad, but she's hurting. So which one is more important?
Yeah, because there's verbal communication, right? And there's
And
nonverbal
it was almost
communication.
a reverse for us. You know, I responded to something, and I think it just kind of hit her in a way. She was like, "Why did you say that?" And it was just like, and she just came to me and kind of rubbed my head, and it was a thaw, and then just things started going, and then and now we were listening to each other again.
Yeah.
And I get it. To her, and to me, that was kind of like me giving you the space. Your dad died. Like, I'm not going to be all up under you. I'm not going to tell you you need to, you know. So you were responding to the separation, and I'm responding to the, like, oh, wow. So it's like, so I'm the problem now, you know. And it's like, but we were able to maneuver that. And I think when you care, eventually the other person's feelings do gotta be more important than your own. Like I said, when it came to me, it really dawned on, like, yeah, I'm mad, but she's hurting, and what I'm mistaking as anger is actually the hurt I've been looking for the whole time anyways. Then I was able to disarm myself, and we were able to really get down to what it was. And the kind of analogy we used is like, you know, they got the nuclear button. You know, the button that sends the nuclear war. You hit the button, the missiles launch, all that. Like, did that dude, if his dad died 4 months ago, do you think they would let him have his finger on the button?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. There's no way, dude. You're not. There's no way you're ready. You're still of the right mind to have your finger on this button. And that's, you know, we managed to get through it. But communication, sometimes sometimes communication is verbal, sometimes it's nonverbal.
But it's important.
It's important.
Number 10. I tried to put this in a PowerPoint and it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Your needs aren't being met. And that's all needs. It could be sexual, it could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be spiritual. But if you feel that your needs are not being met in a relationship, you need to consider why. First of all, I will start with going back to number 11. Did you communicate your needs?
Because, oh yes, and let's be real, because we've seen enough of these videos where needs and wants are two different things. You don't have that many needs. You don't have 3 pages worth of needs.
No, you do not.
You just don't. Needs, not wants. Men either. And again, we tend to be more simple. And sometimes we need stuff that we don't act like we pretend like we don't. Look, man, like that. We need to be supported. Men need to be supported. Like, it's very.
Sorry.
The grind is that much more difficult when you ain't got nobody in your corner.
It's true.
But men deal with it. We grind through with it, but it ain't the same. Like, that's why you got most of your organs. You got 2 of them because you can live with one.
But
But
two is much
not
better.
Your life is
Yeah.
much different.
2 kidneys are
with
much
1
better.
kidney
Yeah.
than it is with 2.
Very much so.
Life is much different with 1 eye than it is with 2. And I don't think we really, as humans, accept that we fall into that same category.
Agreed.
We're much better in pairs than we are by ourselves. But you have to do the work to be able to get into a pairing. You know, can't nobody save you, can't nobody build you. And that goes for both sides of it.
Agreed. It's not one side
Like,
or the
hey,
other.
that's not even the woman. Like, you know, this man can come and don't save her. Just cue up the J. Cole. You know
Don't
what I
save
mean?
her.
Like,
She
it
don't
goes
wanna
both
be
ways, man.
So the first part is, if you do want to save your relationship, is you actually have to determine what are needs versus wants.
Oh, it's a big, you really gotta know.
Like, I don't need material things. I may want them, but I like these lights on. I like this roof. We don't even need the car. Like, the car is a luxury. The car is a want. But I need to be able to transport myself, which means that money is a requirement, because money means that I can transport myself from A to B, and he can get to work and we can get to the grocery store. Food is a necessity, right? Like, so start determining what are needs or wants and prioritizing that. So I think that's important.
And come on, man. And
And I think I've even fallen into that, just being a younger man, not understanding and thinking like love isn't like, come on, man, dudes, you can't be running around with that energy, man. Like that's just ridiculous. It's like a lioness,
Or like what I said, it's like a lion saying to another lion, "Oh, she only deal with dudes that can fight."
That's the whole point of being a male lion.
Oh yeah, the incel community came from me.
Yeah, it's like, come on, y'all sound crazy with some of this stuff.
So
man.
the incel community came from me because there was a post up, and again, with these posts, you only get 1 minute clips most of the time, and it was essentially a guy asking a panel of women, would you choose a broke, loyal dude or a rich guy that cheats on you? And most of the women said that they would choose a rich guy that cheats on them, and I said, most women, if those were the only two options that are given, would choose the rich guy that cheats on them. Because believe it or not, we are biologically predisposed to choose mates who can care for us. Look it up. And the insult community, people started saying, how dare I say that because look at me and I'm broke. And just because I made a comment, I had to like literally go and Google and show somebody and literally copy and paste it into a comment and said, read that. Mating. People have studied that. Females are supposed to be biologically predisposed. That's why rich men, when women can capture them with kids, that's why they have kids for them. Because they feel that that man can take care of those children. That's why if you have a child that is an athlete, a male child that is an athlete, you tell him to double up. Because a woman feels as if he is now going to be able to take care of me and my offspring. Love it or not, we are biologically predisposed. Like men are biologically predisposed to choose youth. Right? They want healthy women. There were a time when they'd say, look at those hips. Why? Because it meant that she could carry a lot of, thank you, she could carry a lot of children, which would continue her offspring. So we've forgotten all of the fundamentals because, again, the world has gotten stupider. But people tried to come for me because I was trying to educate them. And I don't have a man and whatever. So I just laughed at it. So incels, stop. Like, educate yourself and get out of your feelings. It is actually not cute when men are in their feelings. Like, if someone says, I would never date a single mother, I'm not upset by that. You're not referring to me. And you may not be referring to me because I wasn't a single mother. I was an unwed mother. There was a difference. My daughter's father was very active in her life. To this day, she's 21. There's a difference. I was like, I'm an unwed mother. And if you wouldn't date me, I get it. I have somebody else's child. So I'm not going to get offended and go on the internet and start doing all of this. Like, get over it. Like, get out your feelings, people. Enough. So moving on. To number 9. What will number 9 be for reasons you need to break up? Come on. There's no more effort.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And what does that look like for you as a man? Like, what would it look like for me not to? Because, you know me. I get my regimented and I'm
I was just teasing. I was like, because she was messing with her hair and it was taking it was a whole process. And I was sitting over there and I was like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but just to be clear, you're doing this for me? And she was like, shut up. Went on about her business. But that's what I'm saying. Like, again, there's no more effort, but it's the effort that men appreciate. That you do all of this stuff that we don't even really want you to do, but we'll deal with it, we admire it. Again, it's all beauty enhancement and stuff like that. You don't have to do that because we wouldn't have dealt with you if we didn't like bare-faced natural you know? But there's not many men that are going to argue really like, yeah, oh, I like a natural look. Yeah, until you go to the corporate ball. And you don't want a natural look. You want a stunner, right? Right? Am I making that stuff?
It's so true.
You want somebody that's gonna be stunning, right?
Because
men stop the cap on some of that shit.
Because men realize what natural means, right? It means that we don't shave our legs, we don't shave our armpits,
no more effort.
we don't shave our
teeth.
nether region, we don't. But that's
comb her hair,
natural.
she don't do her hair, she don't do nothing. She just get up out of bed and go about her day.
That's no effort. That's what no effort looks like for
Don't go to the gym.
She
Don't
just
care what
starts
you
gaining
eat.
weight. She just eats. She just walks. She no more effort towards remaining appealing.
But I think part of it too
We're
is
visual.
Yeah, I mean, but women are visual too. Like
Yeah,
a woman wants her man to work out and
But it's
eat
not
well
the
and do.
same. Yeah, you can. All you want is
For
not
me,
the
it is.
same. Yeah, for me,
For me, it is.
I'm not not even about to start with you right now on that notice, but like I ain't got no.
However, if I had to choose between the lights staying on and you going to the gym, lights on for $100.
I'm dealing with the gym too, but it's also like, don't play me like I ain't got no dad body either. Like I am thin
Your manga.
right now.
Your
know what I'm
manga.
saying? And if I
Your
didn't
manga.
have so much stress,
Don't even lie to the don't even lie to the people
so much
that.
stress.
Are you really gonna lie to the people that?
Pack some of them pounds on.
No, we good. But yeah, I'm really going. Never mind, because again, I'll say I changed my mind on this, that, and the third, and the fifth, but I gotta tighten up. It's
Yes, you do.
It's so obviously obvious. Like I got people coming for me and all kind of stuff.
Number 8, you're not happy anymore.
See, this one I'm a little ambivalent about.
Me
Because
too.
we all know that this only applies to one half of the relationship.
Robert.
Ain't no man ever left no woman talking about I wasn't happy anymore.
Of course men have left because they were not happy. Well, their needs
No,
were
he
not
left.
met.
That dude left because he was miserable and he was about to kill her or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
But it wasn't just
It
basic.
wasn't just.
I'm not happy.
But
No,
here's
it's like I am miserable. My freedom is in jeopardy. Like
That's why men leave. Like we can't take no more. That's why we leave. We can't take it anymore.
got it. It isn't because of a feeling of
I'm
just
not happy.
That's a day-to-day process.
But here's the thing.
And your relationship, whether it guys, just I'm telling you, I think I have a good relationship. I think I'm with someone that's good for me. But I'm
Thanks,
telling you,
I mean, I'm not happy
if you
once a day.
can't stand the idea that your woman every day thinks, do I want to stay or do I want to leave, then you shouldn't be dealing with women.
Because here's the thing, and we've said this before, we both understand that our happiness is our responsibility. It is not up for Robert to keep me happy. It's for me to be happy with myself and my situation. Yes, being with him enhances my happiness, but my happiness is not his responsibility or vice versa. And the moment you put that on your partner, yes, you're going to want to leave and that's an unfair burden to put on somebody else that they're constantly shucking and jiving for you. That's kind of what it feels like, right? Like if I'm not tap dancing for you, you're not going to be
That's how
happy.
men get into that feeling. And most men have the experience, especially with women. Y'all don't even realize it so much, but y'all get mad at a man for doing and not doing the same thing. And it is extremely confusing.
Guilty.
We're not that smart. So once we feel that, it's like, wait a minute. I did it and she got mad. I didn't do it and she got mad. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's like me telling you the other day, do not do the laundry again. I was like, our dryer is broke, and he said, no, don't worry, babe, I'll take it, I'll wash it and dry. He came back and the clothes was still
the
partially
towels were
wet.
not, but man, them dry. I felt raped in that laundromat. Like, excuse me, you're not supposed to do that. I felt violated in that laundromat.
Why?
At a particular time, like yo, the prices was just ridiculous.
Oh, see,
And
that's
again,
what,
we're talking
but
about
I
dollars
told
and
you,
stuff like that.
I told
Well,
you
it was
I
just
would
like-
wash the laundry and all you had to do was dry it, but he insisted, so I told him no more. Like, you are just
Yeah, I
no
should
more.
have. If I knew what them dry.
Yes,
them
I
washers
told
was
you,
gonna cost,
but you
I
didn't. You
was
wanted
like,
to, so I listened because you're my leader.
Man, I felt like Chris Rock and I'm gonna get you sucker. I was like $2.
So moving on to number 7. Okay, you
I have it to the 75
Ooh, this is a big one. You feel trapped.
Yeah, that's gotta be a strong feeling. One, you should just take like something hard and just go.
because it's your own fault in the track first off. But
Like, what makes a person
That's a
feel
bad
trapped?
feeling.
Children.
children is probably the number one.
Children is the
I honestly
number one
can't
reason.
think
I can't
of
think anything
much
else.
past that. But yeah, and then that's why I said just
Because
You had a choice whether
you did it to
do or
yourself
not.
on some level, and this goes for both sides of it. The lack of accountability for these families and these children and these issues on both sides. I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to her, I'm talking to us as a black community. It's like we gotta do better, man, because it's just he blamed her, she blamed him, and it's like, it takes two to tango always.
Because
So, here's the thing, and I'm sorry,
Uh-huh.
I know you wanted to start, but here's the thing that I really wanted to kind of drive that sense home, something I had to learn the damn sure hard way is, can't nobody do nothing to you, you don't let them. Unless if they do, it's a crime.
So if you feel trapped, I agree. If you feel unhappy in a relationship, it's your fault. If you feel trapped in a relationship, it's your fault. Right? Because that's an internal feeling for you. And that may not have anything because somehow you've made choices that have gotten you there. And again, children are the only thing. Children are still a choice. Not every relationship, children are not souvenirs. You don't have to have one in every relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like as much as I love Rob, I would never have a child with him. Like no disrespect, don't let this go viral and people go whatever. I just wouldn't. Because why? If we were to break up, I have to bring that child with, and I don't want it. And I never wanted another child. Ever. Like I had one and I was one and done at 21. Lock me up, close up the factory. No thank you. So as much as I love him, I know what sacrifices I'm willing to make, and raising another child isn't one of them. I'm done. I'm good. Thank you so much. Hallelujah. So those are one of those things that people think, well, I love them, so I did that. But children, that's not how children should be brought into the world.
And here's the other thing too, and y'all can data check and fact check if y'all want to, but I'm spitting real talk, like, and you gotta go probably a bit deeper into history now, because we've been living wild for a while, you know what I mean? Feminism been pushing since like 60s, 50s and stuff like that, but historically, if the woman wanted out and she wanted to leave, the man would say, yeah, no problem, go ahead, but them kids are staying right here. Them kids ain't going nowhere.
I was one of them kids.
Can leave.
I was one of them kids.
Be my guest.
I
I ain't gonna keep you nowhere. You can leave. But now, she can run off and take the kids.
Yeah.
And that's
So
why it's so crazy.
you've got it, and that's why love isn't enough in relationships. That's why it's compatibility is more important than love. Compatibility and the values. I would say, are we compatible? Do our values align? Do we actually want the same things? Because I hear stories of men who actually went and got vasectomies and didn't tell their wives because their wives insisted on having more children and the man didn't want any of that. He went from a sports car to a minivan and hated his life. That man felt trapped. So when a man has to do certain things, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's unfair. Your values weren't aligned. If she wanted 6 kids and you were perfectly fine with 0 or 1, I don't care how much you love her, your values aren't aligned. You're going to be miserable in the end. And those children are going to be miserable.
She's speaking facts, so.
Did you have a point before I move on?
No, like I said, that one is just hit yourself, but you can't really put on the other person. You trap yourself.
This is a good one. You're irritated by minor things they do.
Ooh, yes, that's one that things are rough when you're in that space, and that could be a short time. And if you correct it and get it straightened out, you get back to loving and all the positive attributes of the relationship. But when you're mad, especially, yes, when you're mad,
I don't like the way you chew.
Everything that the other person do is suspicious, is suspect, is side eye. And it can really be like an issue. Like you said, you don't like the way they chew. You don't like how you brush your teeth with your mouth open. It could be, man, listen, I'm telling you, like, and yeah, so you have to really kind of keep that stuff at bay, because if you don't, that's all you'll see. Like you said, you got the 80 and the 20, and if you start focusing on the 20, it will become the 100.
Well, there was, let's get back to us. There was one day I gave Robert like a terrible look. And it was over.
Oh yeah, I was like laying
I was looking at him and I just was like,
at me like, looks could kill, all of this.
And it wasn't what you thought it was, but I was irritated. And I was just looking at you with just this look of
I might have to look like
it was just like. But if that's your everyday, that is the first time that it ever happened in our relationship, right?
I was like, yo, you was looking at me super far away. And again, because man, you shouldn't be talking about how you looking. Like that's you. Like, are you okay? What's wrong? You look like you're having that. You have that's your job. Like that's your thing. Like that's.
Yeah, but he noticed that one
like,
because he looked up at me and I kept looking like we were dead and I just said nothing and then I broke and then I walked away out of the room.
Like I was like, yeah, yo, what's up with that, man?
So, but if that's all the time, ladies, if you're constantly looking at your man with a level of disgust, gentlemen, if you're looking at your woman with a level of disgust, just everything, when she starts eating, hey, listen, sometimes women have gained a few pounds, and every time she opens her mouth to eat, you're just like, this bitch needs to put that food down. Like,
it was one of the reaction videos. It was horrible that he did this to her, man. He was like, yeah, man, make sure you got you somebody that can cook, and you know, it's nothing. And she was frying some chicken. He grabbed the chicken, he took a bite. He was like, and make sure you got somebody that can cook. And season too, because they say season went down, and he threw the chicken back up. And I was like, oh my God. These fools is acting up on social media, man. Like,
but you
person can't do
know.
nothing to you, you don't let them.
That's fact. So again,
You don't just start at that.
no. And so again, if the little minor things start bothering you, you need to one, address it with your partner, and also figure out why is it bothering you. Is it because they're bothering you? Is it because you have an issue? So moving on to number 5, we're gonna go through the rest fairly quickly. Number 5, 832. You're constantly reflecting on the honeymoon phase. Guilty.
That's the women. That's for the women.
And I don't even feel like we actually had a honeymoon phase, if I'm honest. We didn't really have a honeymoon phase. But the honeymoon phase that we did have, I do constantly
Our honeymoon
say,
phase was like a few very short weeks. It was maybe a week. Like, again, I say, like our road trip.
That was our honeymoon phase, and she just,
You used to.
well, that's why I fell in love with you. It's because of all of those sweet, wonderful things. And then I feel like you said,
we were
gotcha,
in our
bitch.
bubble.
Yeah, and then you said, gotcha, bitch.
We were in our bubble.
I get it. It was also COVID.
But
and we were
women
in a
always
bubble.
feel like they
I feel like it was a gotcha,
COVID.
bitch.
That's cool.
And it's like, yeah, now the world has picked back up. There's no longer a moratorium on evictions.
Facts, yo. Like, that's over now. They can put you out if you don't pay your bills. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, hey, honeymoon's over, man.
So I guess, ladies, we should not be focusing.
It's always like when we was going through it earlier today. I was like, as soon as I read that one, I was like, that's the one you're the most guilty of.
No, I know I'm guilty. And I have to do better. I have to do better, but I have to do better at communicating, like, I like when you do those things. As opposed to saying to you, you don't do those things anymore. It's
Or
like
just,
learning to say.
You don't have to do it all the time, but just once in a while, it would mean a lot to you if you still did this, that, and that.
Yeah, I think just
And not
communicating.
just on date nights and stuff.
Yes,
like
and
that.
not just on date night.
I do it,
He used to
yeah.
open my car door all the time, and then he switched it to just date nights, and now our date nights are fleeting, and so I don't get my car opened anymore, and it irritates me.
Yes, I get it. So yeah, we both started listening again, and
I feel like
I
we
had,
get to
and
your
I think
interest
when
in
you're
that.
thawed, you have to have the and also like I said, I've always said to Sheba, when you make sense, you give me pause, you make me think about my behavior, my actions, what I've been doing, all of that. But when you're not making sense, I'll be like, man.
No. I get my tumbo.
And we were both in a space of just, man, I ain't trying to hear nothing they talk about because ain't nothing they talk about making sense to me. Because again, you start hearing, like, you start picking out the words that hurt. You start picking out the words you're sensitive to. You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and you're not, you know what I mean?
I'm not hearing. You're not fucking
So
your
again, the
feelings.
same things you were trying to express, all of a sudden I'm thawed a bit, and now I'm more receptive, and I'm like, okay, yeah, there's some truth to that. I might not like that she's like, you never do, but no. But the fact is, I don't do it to the extent that there was a period where I did it all the time. You know, so and as men, we have to be honest about that stuff. That's why the honeymoon phase is difficult because you're in your bubble. But sometimes, guys, we have to step back into that and just remind her of who we were in that bubble. You know what I mean?
Especially when I'm still working to keep it all together. Listen, let me tell you, Rob will tell you, my body is in better shape than before we met. And not that it was in bad shape, but I then pumped up my workout. I did all kinds of things. Okay? So if I'm putting in the effort, I'm just saying, meet me halfway.
And fellas, again, you can't let your woman keep the score in your relationship. Next thing you know, you look up at the clock and you got 87 to 4, and you like, that can't be right. But that's life with women. Like, you haven't scored since the first quarter? That can't be possible.
Moving on, sir. Number 4. Well, this is obvious. There's physical, verbal, or emotional abuse.
Yeah, I think this one we don't even have to. Other than that last one, the emotional abuse. Is
Because
like,
that's
on,
a difficult one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because what does that mean? Are they insulting you?
Yeah.
Are they telling you your chicken wasn't
verbal
seasoned?
abuse, like, are they being a mean, manipulative gaslighter, or are they telling you real facts
That you
and
don't
you're
wanna
just
hear?
being delusional? Like there's delusional people that believe that people that tell them the truth are being verbally and emotionally abusive.
Because they don't
Lizzo,
listen to diversity of thought and opinion. Oh yeah, Lizzo tried to block people from Facebook saying anything mean to her when she posted herself half naked. But we digress. Moving on.
Yes. That's a no-brainer, right?
That's a no-brainer. Number 3. You don't like or recognize yourself.
That one hits. I think that one's strong. Especially, like I said, if you're in a hurt place, an angry phase, again, you're not, like, if the relationship is going negative, then that's definitely more likely to occur. And I think it's really hard to be objective in relationships.
It is.
You're always going to see more of what you're doing than what the other person is doing.
Absolutely.
And if you're honest and you're fair, you'll realize that's just kind of the nature of the beast. And sometimes you got to take a step back and really give your partner their flowers, because a lot of this friction of all these 15 things are behind just not your partner not feeling they receiving their flowers from you. And that's a horrible place to be in a relationship, when you feel like you're contributing and the other person coasting. When you feel like you're doing and the other person is, you're giving and the other person is taking. Like that's not a good space for anybody.
Yeah. And that's why I recommend therapy. Right? Or if you've got, we've got somewhat of a fairy godmother in our relationship that helps to see the balance and keep us balanced as best as she possibly
I
can.
love her, but she's more your fairy godmother than mine. But I'm not. It just is what it is.
No, but she allows me,
But
when she listens to you, she comes back to me.
That's what it is.
and
sometimes when
expresses things in
are
a way
really
that I
hectic,
didn't get it.
I'll be like, you know what? I need to talk to her and then I don't have to have the filter. I don't have.
She filters it for you and delivers it to me.
Even though we have a fuck your feelings relationship, I can't be blood raw with her because I still have to. We still have to know disrespectful, But when I'm talking to our fairy godmother, I can be like, fuck that. And I just really fuck that. Because she's like, well, but maybe, there's a little bit of happy life, happy wife, happy life in there. No, fuck that. Unhappy dad, there's no pad, okay? So I'm not trying to hear that right now. I'm trying to get you, because it's almost, and that's...
And when she delivers it to me, it's not delivered in that way. She filters a lot of it, and she'll come back and say, Toshiba, have you thought about it from this perspective?
Because now she's been listening to your stuff, and she's like, maybe... And it's not unreasonable. There's no way she could tell her the whole story.
I can. I only have my
She
side.
can only tell her side of it. So then she hears mine, and she's like, okay, wait, now I can reconcile these.
And put them together.
Yeah, both are feeling the same. Two people can both be right and both be wrong
at the same time. Because you're looking from their perspective. Again, if you go on the internet, you'll see the picture of the person, the man who sees a 6 and the other man who sees a 9. And they both are right. From their viewpoint, it's from a 6 and 9, but they're also both wrong, because when the other person looks on the other side, the man who's seeing a 9, he's like, no, I don't understand how you see a 6 because it's a 9, right? So I think that's why I would recommend therapy. I think if you are in a position where you care about that relationship, and we haven't even gotten to number 1 yet, but I would just recommend, if you want to save it, get a neutral party who can listen to you both and filter the information and deliver it in a way that maybe is easier for you to receive. Because it's funny, because even in the beginning of the show, when you said something to me, I'm like, I really do that? I don't get to see
you
me
don't
in
see
this relationship.
and I didn't realize to the extent of that until literally tonight when you said that.
because you were saying it as a question, like, I don't see myself in this
Yeah, I
relationship.
don't see
I
myself
was
in this
like,
relationship.
you know you don't, but I thought you did. And that's the interesting thing of it.
Like I don't think you fully see yourself in
No, I mean, it's just
relationship, or we don't get to see ourselves in a
we
relationship.
don't. Or and even I mean it this way, but they're taking it that way. So which one is more important? What I mean or how they're taking it?
Yeah. So I think that's
You gotta
that's,
talk about this stuff,
you
man.
definitely do. So the number 2 reason to, or signs we should say, as to what you're always thinking of breaking up.
Ooh, child. Like this is look, we go through these cycles like every 6 months or something like that. No, but I'm not even saying a cycle, but the tension gets a little, like, it's twice a year. Like, it's not often.
No.
Like, and again, we have enough body of work behind us now that it's like, we're on way more than we're off, you know what I'm saying? But again, I think, and it's, again, to the fellas, natural, she gets to think about breaking up every day because it's her nature.
Yeah, if you start saying that, it's
Like
not
I've said from day one, I was like, yo, when I start questioning the relationship
Yeah.
is when we're in trouble. So that's why I felt there was some urgency to us talking, because it's only so long you can be hearing certain stuff before you like, okay, that's how you want to do it then. And that's something that I wanted to say is, it could be the greatest relationship in the world, but the minute you fear losing it is the minute you're losing control of it.
Ooh. Elaborate.
You can't be afraid to take the L. If one day we just wake up and we're incompatible, what's more important, the 5
Holding on
years
for
of
dear life. Like,
greatness, or the fact that we are now no longer compatible?
we want to go a different path.
Nothing. I'm not talking about therapy fix. I'm not. You don't want kids, and I got baby fever, and we've been pretending and beating around the bush for 5 years, making it work, and we just realized this is immutable. You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid to take that L. You can't be afraid to lose that relationship, because then that becomes what controls
Now
your
you're trapped,
behavior.
but now that's that feeling of
That's
now
how
I'm
you
trapped.
get to be feeling trapped. Exactly.
It's been
that
5 years.
will lead you to feeling trapped.
And then it's
You
been
can't be
6
afraid
years.
to
Then it's
lose.
been 7
You
years.
can't be afraid to let
Yeah,
it go.
I
You can't
agree.
be afraid to walk away, because that means you're not really holding it to a certain standard.
Because here's the problem. Then when you finally do break up, you break up in a way that you actually are
It's
dating each
hostile,
other. It's
and
hostile.
there's nothing
As
to-
opposed to having
Yeah,
that
that's
conversation
why
and
some people, I
saying,
think they don't really understand that sometimes folks get to know we had a. It was
amicable.
further back.
Yeah.
Like, and that's how they're great. They're still good together. They're actually happy that the other person finds
Yeah.
someone to be with, and like that.
and that's possible.
It
guys.
is possible.
There
It
are
is possible.
breakups where exes can actually show up at people's weddings. Like these things do happen because
They
you're
do
amicable
happen.
and you're friendly and you realize there was no animosity. And I think when you hold on to a relationship past its expiry date, you can have animosity. That's why you have to be careful about the person you choose to marry, right? Like that's a very serious situation, and love just won't be enough. So let's see the number 1 sign that it might be time to on your relationship.
You don't see a future with them. Yeah,
That one hit.
That one hits. Because I think again, you can be 5 years in strong, and then life might throw a curveball. Like, we didn't plan on her dad dying, but if we didn't rein that, how it reverberated through our relationship in ways that were seen and unseen, then it could have got bad. It could have got ugly. Because I don't think of myself getting to that point that I don't see a future with you because of how we operate in the body of work behind it.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Even in our worst of times, I don't think like, oh my God, my life
you
without
were really
him.
trying to
Like,
express that, and I just wasn't like, I ain't trying to hear none of that
yeah,
shit.
you weren't trying to hear anything. That was
It, especially, I wasn't being hurt, and I'm like, man, it's all or nothing, man. Because honestly, we could even talk about that, because it was a few nights ago, we were sitting there eating dinner, and she was like, oh, you got some ideas for the show? And I looked up and looked at her dead in her eyes, and was like, if you're going to leave, leave. How about that for a show topic?
I was like, are you talking directly to me? I was like, that came from a deep place. Like, this is not about the show, sir. I was trying to have dinner, ask a question.
Like, we're
and she's like, see, I was thinking you got any topics for the show? And I'm like, yeah, if you want to leave, leave.
I was like, well,
That
that
would be a
sounds
good
like you're
topic,
talking
huh?
to me, and well, clearly we
What
actually
are we
the
talking
topic.
about tonight?
But I think it was, but for you, I think that's where our issue resides, because for you, if I'm not here, you feel as if I'm leaving you.
We were not talking about
And I am not leaving you, but I may have to leave the country.
I think some things, you feel like you have unfinished. I'm not even going to dismiss it. Like, you do have unfinished business in Canada. You still have a massive portion of your life. It was never like, I was just, like, you can't just whisper away to your castle and never let her out, bro. Like, it just don't work like that, you feel me? So, but that's kind of how I was taking it, because it wasn't being communicated like,
You
the
felt that
motivation
I am
for
leaving
me
is like
having
I'm
these
leaving.
thoughts and looking into these avenues is because I'm getting ready to leave you. I'm like, that's not how, because we were not right.
We were butting heads.
We were not right. So again, now I'm hearing, I'm just talking, I'm ear hustling, and this talks about stuff going on in Canada. I'm sitting down there playing, and I'm like, purr. Okay.
Because you think that me saying it is like.
And I'm telling you, most of the fellas is relaxed. Like, when we get into a negative, like, thought process cycle, yeah, we will definitely be like, okay, you want to do that? Okay, I'm going to really be a dick around this motherfucker. That's why I stayed out all that one day. I was like,
I know, he
It's
stayed out
almost
one
like
day,
to
but
spur
you didn't end up hurting me. You ended up hurting other people.
Right,
Because
and
it
that
didn't
was
bother
the
me.
like, again. But again, but it's one of those things like, okay, you mad?
I'm gonna make you mad.
You're gonna be big mad when I pull this.
But you weren't listening, and again,
And
now that
get
we
it.
opened up,
get
it was
so in all of it,
understanding.
and then you start to regret what you're doing and not being so mad at the other person. You're starting to evaluate your contributions to the problem and not just I'm mad and you're doing this to me and all this other stuff.
Yeah, because even again, I don't see, like, again, even at our worst of times, I don't see a future without you in it. Like, even when I'm like, I'm mad and he's so irritating and he's not doing what I need him to do, I still know that there's the other side is coming, right? Like, it's not going to go on forever. And when we get over the other side, we'll be fine and we'll go off and I did my vision board today. My vision board family part is all about you and I, really, right? Like, it's I don't see a me without you, and I don't foresee it happening. But I think for you, it's difficult because here's the thing: Rob likes me with him. He does, like he always says, he doesn't necessarily need me underneath him, but he wants me close. And me being in another country, that's not close for him. And so that's the difficulty we were having, because I was like, I may have to go home. Like, there's stuff that I need to get done. And he's just like, home?
Okay, that's what you want to do.
Because for like he did 3 nights without me, and I think that was his max. He was like, I'm good at it. The second night, he was like, well, this was not as much fun as I thought it was going to be.
And again, it's not like you do what you got to do. It wasn't like I was miserable, but no, it's again. One kidney for a few days, and you're like, bring my kidney back. We'd rather have 2, sir. You can walk around with one eye for a little while, and walk around like this all day.
Yeah, it's not.
To appreciate
Put
that.
on an eye patch and see. Because again, one eye has to do more work now that the other one's covered up. Again, if you've ever had a broken toe or had your foot in something, one foot has to do more.
You gotta compensate.
Exactly,
Like,
you gotta compensate.
It's not fun. I can't wait till my other leg stop hurting so I can walk normal again.
And that's what a good relation does for you, is that when that piece is missing, you're like, oh my God, that piece is actually missing.
You're like, oh goddamn, I only got one kid.
So I think part of it, and let's talk about in like 2 minutes, if you even see any of these signs or a number of these signs, but you want to stay together, because that's what we're all about. Like, we're committed to the commitment of staying together, not to the detriment of ourselves, because that's very different. It's not detrimental for us to stay together. It actually would be more detrimental to not be together. And so we work really hard to stay together. Go ahead.
You know what a good indicator of that one is?
What?
When you talk about the future, does it bring tension or does it bring like some type of like y'all? Does it feel like y'all are gonna be on the same page in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years?
Or does it feel like y'all are shooting for two totally different type of lives?
That's true. But again, are you even talking about the
That's what I
future?
said. And again, are you,
Or are you, because again, I would say, yeah, are you scared to talk about, I think some people are in relationships that they're good for now and they know they're good for now. They're scared to talk about the future.
trapped?
So talk about the future. Let it start sitting down with your partner and say, okay, I'd like to plan out the next couple of years. I'm a planner, so I'm always like, Rob says something's happening in 6 months. I'm like, well, I need to know because I need to plan backwards.
Entertain that. She can't hold me to what I said 5 years from now I'm gonna be here. You can't be held to that like, oh, you man. But if you're nowhere near it,
But you also gonna at a point, like relationships are gonna change and evolve.
yes.
Right? And I think you have to be open.
Gotta be able to play the tambourine.
Well, that's going back to our relationship contract, right? We understand that the relationship changes and evolves because they're different things, and we have to renegotiate. My father dying threw a
That's
monkey
a real
wrench
one.
into our.
Well, it did because
And I'm just gonna be accountable for myself for a while, for real. It's like, and I'm just kind of have the realization now is because I was thinking Chris Rock, tambourine. You got to be able to play the tambourine. Somebody's a lead singer, but it's always a guy back in, ding, and without that ding, the whole song is not the same song. But like, I played the tambourine when we went to bury your dad. And I understood that was the mission, the assignment. I was absolutely all into it. Had no problem with it. But when we came back home, I just assumed back up front, like a lead singer again. That's over. And I didn't really realize, no, I needed to play the tambourine for a while, even when we got back home. And I think that heavily contributed to some of the things that you were feeling and experiencing because you kind of got thrust back into your role, which was support, run the house,
And that was not my
should've-
normal anymore.
Yeah, and you couldn't just go back to normal, right? So
Yeah, you really needed the opportunity to just be a woman of leisure, I guess.
but you can't do that. You should have been forced to just lay down, chill. You can't do nothing.
Because
right
something
now.
had changed, so the
Until
relationship
you
dynamic
make me
had
feel
changed,
like
yeah.
you dealt with this.
Yeah.
I'm not even really entertaining certain things, but yeah, we just went back to normal. You know what I'm saying? I'm
And
like-
my life
and
wasn't
then-
normal
and
anymore.
then, and to
You
me,
were
it was
just-
like,
you just-
oh, my playing the tambourine was giving you space, and then
They're like, oh, he's pulling away from me, and I need him more than ever now, and all of that is going on, bro. And it just really kind of dawned on me. It's like, yeah, like I kind of failed at playing the tambourine a bit because it just, things change sometimes. And
Well, you gotta understand, right? I lost the first love of my life, and he didn't even get to know the last love of my life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
there's a lot
he
to it,
doesn't
right?
get to see us get married, and he doesn't get to give me away, and he doesn't get to do. And then plans I had, to honor him during our funeral got kiboshed because I didn't
Yeah.
get his ashes, and like. There were so many things, and honestly, like I didn't communicate well because I don't grieve well. Like I
No, I got it.
exactly.
I got it.
Ideal. Like even my consulting job, when I showed back up to a meeting, they're like, "What are you here?" I'm like,
I gotta be here.
Because life goes on. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not in an insensitive
Right.
way. It was just kind of like I don't know how to just be,
And-
and I think I just need to figure out in 2023. My father hasn't even gone for 4 months. How to just be still.
Yeah, and yeah.
Well,
and then that's the thing. You're the opposite extreme. And then there's some people that they grieving for 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Your mama died 12 years ago, bro. Like,
You gotta get up and move
You
on.
gotta move
And so
on.
I just do the, it's time, like, when we got off the plane and I
it's
was in a
never the
meeting.
saying. No one is being insensitive and saying like it's not. That's the thing. Death brings finality. Whatever that relationship was like is over now. You can. That's where it was left.
And it fundamentally changes
And I don't know why that doesn't
relationship with
motivate us to have better relationships, knowing that death is final. But we leave relationships bad for years, just
And that,
knowing that those relationships matter to us.
yeah, and I mean, I think that was important when my sister talked about the importance, like, because my dad
Yeah,
was
she
such
did.
a
And your sister is
relationship.
really that person.
Yeah, my dad is such a relationship. He had great relationships. Like, people just love my dad. Like, people sending me messages just about how great my dad was. He was such a good man in that way, and it made me really stop and think about, like, you know what I'm saying, just relationships as a whole and being better in relationships and what
The
that
more
meant.
relationships you have, the more you have to tend, and it's like,
We all can do better at that.
Yeah, so again, we just went through 15 signs, and again, if you see the signs and you want to be committed to your relationship, you gotta work.
Yeah.
That's the key word. Relationships are work. They're not easy. They're not meant to be easy. You're two people coming together, trying to go on a common goal. And you're not always going to agree what that common goal is because you're two different people. So it's going to take work. And to me, the question I would ask is this person worth it? And my answer is always yes.
Yeah, I agree. We're both on that.
So, two questions.
You must have wrote this one for me.
Oh.
What is your favorite food to eat for lunch? Like, my lunch is so very routine. I only eat a couple of things for lunch. I get out the office for a little while. Probably 3 to maybe 4 days a week I eat. Y'all should throw me some stock, sponsor some. Barro's Pizza. If y'all don't know, I eat a lot of pizza, man.
Actually, I went to Sprouts and got a sandwich.
So proud of you.
I did.
And I'm always suggesting he brings like the leftovers, and I'll pack leftovers, thinking he's gonna bring them to the office. You spend about $6.
But I spend like $7 a day on.
Oh, it went up. It was just like $5.
$6.38.
Oh, okay.
But no, I'm saying even my pizza is like $6.50 or something. I try not to spend over $10 for lunch.
So that keeps it
That'd be
like
ridiculous.
50 under for the week, and and again, it's but I need to get out of my office.
I get that.
For
I get that.
30, 40 minutes or something like that. And it's fresh food, so it's always like fresh food.
Sorry, my question. I just looked at it. It's very funny. True or false? Sex that doesn't produce an orgasm is trash.
There's two different sides of that equation.
I would have to say false in my life. I have actually had sex that did not produce an orgasm that was still enjoyable. Like it wasn't trash. It wasn't anything, right? And I've had sex that produced orgasm that I was like, oh my God, that was like, oh, like never again. So I think it's about the person that you're with and what's going on, but I wouldn't say it's trash. Like to say true would be like, that's ridiculous. But I think a woman should know what an orgasm feels like in her relationship. But I would not say like, not every time
Be like, we were in it 10 years.
your relationship and she was
Caught
faking
one,
or something,
yeah, she was
right? Like,
faking it along,
so
yeah.
I wouldn't say, I can't say true, but I would say that I think both partners should want to make the other partner orgasm.
Like, it's important. But again, like, we're also different. Like, it's almost a guarantee that I can catch. But there's times where she catches one and I'm like, and it's just that we're good.
Well, I'll catch you on the next one. So.
And I think guys have to be kind of comfortable with that, you know what I mean? But yeah, we know if it was a race, men win most of the time.
Yeah, take your last question.
All right, we're done.
Whatever. Moving on. Okay. Answer your question.
What's the best lesson an ex has taught you that I really, really do not like arguing like that? Like that peace is the only status I can be in a relationship in. And that person also has to desire peace. Like, for as much as you're a female and as much as I chastise you about have to do and dramas and stuff like that, but you're not a chaotic person.
No, I can't operate in chaos.
I'm more chaotic than you, which is interesting.
Very.
You know what I mean? Because, yeah, I've learned, I can't do it. I just can't do it, man. Like,
And you shouldn't have to.
if you like to fight,
And let's be honest, there's a lot of females out there that like to fight.
it keeps on going. I can't live like that.
That just takes more energy than I'm willing to exert. I always say that, like, when somebody else gets me that mad, I'm giving away my power, and that's not something that I'm going to do. I'm not going to keep giving somebody else my power.
And you know what it is with me too, it's just my nature. Like, when it's up, it gets stuck there for a little while. Like, it goes, and then.
It takes a while to come down, yeah. So that constant
You know
cycle
what I mean?
is
So
a lot.
it's
Yeah.
exhausting to me. And then, or it's still here, and you
Yeah,
back
and
up
then bring
again.
it back
I'm like, I ain't even get over the last shit yet, and you pulling more shit. Like,
I get that. Thank God we do not have that. We wouldn't survive because I just,
Yeah, no,
I
we
don't,
wouldn't.
I'm not
I
argumentative.
can't do that.
I don't,
Shit,
again,
you ain't got over the last one, and
you already
there's
bring
something
new
else
in.
is coming
Yeah,
up.
I just can't do that. Last question. What do you think your life will look like in 10 years? I will definitely be on somebody's island. I cannot retire in North America. I mean, I'm only 43, so 10 years I'll be 53. But I'd like to feel like I'm somewhat retired. I know that I would like to be going and traveling to different countries. I would love to carry this show to different countries and talk about my book and definitely traveling and being on an island and all that
maybe
stuff.
a section of the year that was just devoted to travel, even if it was just a month. Like we're just.
Oh, well, we're definitely having a house in the Caribbean or somewhere that's tropical, or Europe or somewhere, or Africa. I'm definitely having something, but
so hit that like and subscribe button so we can get
he's
there.
getting hungry. That told me.
No, I'm just saying so we can hit these financial goals. Like, we need to raise the profile. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that follow button.
And hit that share button.
Help
Share.
us out, okay? All you gotta do is watch.
That's it. We don't ask for anything else. We're not asking for super chats, super likes,
Yeah,
any kind
I don't
of
think
cash
we'll ever get to
apps,
that
and
point,
no, we don't
honestly.
want
Like, I know
that.
some
But
people
please
do that,
share.
and it's part of the business model and stuff like that, but like,
Share like.
we don't need help paying the bills. Honestly, we good over here on that.
Share
And
like.
Yeah, this is
That's all we
all
want you to
ice
do.
on the cake type stuff. That's why we do this. This is a hobby, not a job. I work for a living.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So, happy 2023, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was light and fun. And if you saw any of those signs and you want to stay together, like we said, work. But before we go, the person who helps us work on this relationship is our sponsor, Sorrel and Sage. Make sure you check her out at Sorrel and Sage CA on her Instagram and shop sorrelandsage.com on her website. She's doing amazing things, and I cannot wait to be a part of her journey as she's a part of ours, Roberto.
That's what's up. Again, thank you for joining. 9:30 Eastern. Fuck Your Feelings a show. Every Thursday we do this. Again, we made it another week, y'all. We are not relationship goals. If you picked up on some of the stuff we was talking about, yes, we go through it. We look at each other like, you crazy person, get away from me. But at the end of the day, this is what we want to be doing.
And this is where we want to be.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be. But
There you
yes,
go.
you already know.
That's another
that
one.
is Hell, and she knows. So am I. Neither one of us are easy people to love, but we manage it
To love each other.
because we're compatible. And I think we both know, like, look, don't do this to nobody else.
Facts. Nobody is in a lineup waiting for me.
No one else deserves it.
We're good.
Don't
We're
make me put anyone else through this.
You're so ridiculous. So thank you, everybody. Just like we like to say, if you bring a little fuck your feelings into your life, into your relationship, you may just stay together. So again, happy 2023. Until next week, until next time. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Gotta go eat.
Yes, we gotta go get some food.